Dobar dan, dobrodošli. Ja sam Françoise Jacob, stalna koordinatorka UN Serbia. So welcome to this UN cinema session. This is the first of these sessions that we are doing here in the UN house in Belgrade, Serbia. I'm very happy to have all of you here as our guests. UN Cinema is an initiative that was started 13 years ago in Brussels to present award-winning documentaries about various development topics. This initiative started as a very small project only in Brussels, and over the years it has expanded globally. So UN movies or UN cinema movies have been shown in places like Geneva, The Hague, Helsinki, Paris, all sorts of cities in Europe, and for the first time it's coming to Belgrade. So it's a big event for us, and we certainly hope that we will be able to continue this type of event here. Now, let me talk a little bit about the movie itself. The movie is called When Tomatoes Met Wagner. So it's a really strange title, definitely. And it's a story that takes place in Greece, and it's the story of two Greek cousins that decide to start a new farming activity with ancient old tomato seeds. And with these seeds, which they plant on their land, they are playing Wagner music, hoping, and Greek music as well, hoping that the tomatoes will feel better, grow faster, and will be of better quality. So it seems like a bit of a weird story, funny story, but it's actually the story about a dying farming community that is trying to rekindle its activities. And they are actually quite successful in accessing the European market, and even beyond. They managed to go to sell their product in the US. The story has a lot of humor in it. It has also a lot of poetry. It's a real story. It's a documentary. It's extremely well played, I would say. And it's a story that is extremely relevant for Serbia, of course, and that's why we have this debate here in Belgrade about it. The film itself was presented by Greece at the Oscar ceremony last year in 2019 under the category of international film. So it gives you an idea that this is actually a really well done and very relevant movie. The movie touched on issues related to the need to preserve sustainable agriculture, but also the need to have financial sustainability and profit for this community. The story brings up the issue of aging. It brings up the issue of relationship between generations. So the older people who stay in the village, but who still need to have a meaningful life, and the young generation from abroad that come and visit to see what's happening, how these people make a living in this village. It's the story about solidarity. It's a story about love and beauty. So many topics that are included in this title. We have brought here a panel of experts in their own field, and I think what we want to do today is, starting from some of the key topics brought by the movie, we want to look at what is the world that we want to build for the future, particularly now as we are still going through the COVID pandemic. We are looking at ways not only to recover from, the health impact, the socio-economic impact, but we are also looking at ways to build forward better. And this is really something that the United Nations in Serbia and globally want to work on. So I'm really happy to welcome this group of people today in the UN House. You all come with a different background, and I know you're going to give a very interesting perspective on these key questions. So have a good debate. Thank you very much for joining us here. And I look forward to listen what you have to say. Thank you.
Dobar dan, hvala na mogućnosti da prokomentarišemo.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to comment on this interesting film.
Neke poruke,
and also to build on some messages and ideas that we have recognized in this film and to discuss our reality today and the future that we imagine, and all this on the occasion of marking the 75th anniversary of the United Nations. Today we have here with us Dr. Verica Jovanović, director of the Milan Jovanović Batut Institute of Public Health and member of the emergency management team of Serbia for the fight against COVID-19. Slobodanka Pavlović, representative of the Radanska Ruža social enterprise, and Vladimir Crnojević, director of Bioscience Institute, a new technology and science institute from Novi Sad. We have seen the film. It is interesting on more than one level, and we will try to comment on it by reflecting on the moments from our own lives and the current situation. We have spent this year in the conditions that we have never seen before as a result of the coronavirus pandemic. Mr. Crnojević, I would like to start from you, if you agree. In the film that we have seen, we could say that it's a film about an attempt at innovation, about how to revive a village in a Greek province which has difficulties making ends meet, and how to upgrade tomato production. We could understand it as a metaphor for something that is important, how to survive, and how to build this link between science and tradition in order to achieve progress. Biosense is an excellent example. You are also an excellent example in agriculture specifically. Thank you. I would like to start by quoting some UN statistics. According to the forecasts, by year 2050 we will have 10 billion people on the planet, and we will need to provide 70% more food than today. So agriculture needs to become much more efficient. And this is a major problem, but at the same time an opportunity for people in agriculture to build a future for themselves, because it has not been a popular choice in the past 10 to 20 years. Biosense is involved in implementing IT in agriculture. 100 years ago, we had the mechanical revolution. 50 years ago, we had the chemical revolution. Now we have IT. And this, in a way, brings democracy by offering opportunities to people in underdeveloped areas to benefit from IT and to make agriculture sustainable. We say jokingly that in Serbia we may have illiterate population, but we have 1.5 mobile phones per head, which is a good example of the general democratization trend. Look at sub-Saharan Africa. they had major losses because of the logistics process. The produce of small farmers had difficulties reaching the market, and now, thanks to IT and mobile phones and other developments, they have made a major breakthrough, and I think this will affect the world in a major way, and there will be many developments in this area. Slobodanka Pavlović, when we were introduced to each other before the beginning of this discussion, Slobodanka told you that you were definitely going to stay in touch. Ms. Pavlović, you are here to speak from the point of view of somebody who works in a social enterprise. I believe you have recognized many scenes in this film as something that you also encounter in your own life and in the lives of your colleagues. Yes, exactly. I have to admit, I only managed to see the film late last night. It is very original.
Mnogo elemenata koje smo mi u proteklih 5 godina sličnih situacija imali.
Shows many situations that we ourselves encountered when we established our social enterprise. It is a story about developments at the local level, about vegetable production, how to market them, how to process them, how to create and design your end product. The only difference is that the film is about elderly people and we work with the younger generations.
Slušam gospodine kad kaže koliko će narod, odnosno ljudi biti na planeti.
When I hear about these forecasts on the global population by 2050 and when I look at the situation with COVID that we are facing right now,
I koliko je bitno svima nama da se vežemo i da se fokusiramo na lokal, jeste globalizacija, jeste omogućeno da se ide, da se putuje, da budete za par sati na drugom kraju sveta. Ali ipak je, kad dođu ovakve neke situacije, lokal taj koji će nam dati šansu da preživimo krizu. I to smo mi videli sad sa ovom krizom kod COVID-a, kad se nije moglo putovati. Mi smo proizvodili, naše tržište sirovine je na lokalu.
Our sources of raw materials are at the local level, our market is at the local level, so we did not have any problems, and we did not have a single person infected by COVID in our production facility or in our neighborhood or among our suppliers. I'm saying this in order to emphasize the potentials of the local level and how important it is to liaise with other stakeholders at the local level. I'm not competent to talk about other spheres, but when it comes to food, we need to focus on the local level and use local potentials. And we need to utilize those capacities because it is the only chance for economic survival nowadays. I agree with the gentleman that food will be a primary concern for everybody on our planet and we need to have that in mind. Dr. Jovanović,
je 75. godišnjica Ujedinjenih nacija bila prošle godine.
If the 75th anniversary of the United Nations had been last year, we would have had a completely different discussion. Today, we cannot discuss any subject without seeking input from experts, considering that we are facing an unprecedented pandemic and our lives
počeli smo priču iz ugla
faced with unprecedented conditions. We started talking about the rural communities, villages, isolated or less isolated local communities.
Prethodnih 7 meseci kada je u pitanju
What is your experience from the past 7 months when it comes to fighting the pandemic and availability of health care for people in rural communities and small towns?
Prvo, u znak obeležavanja ove veoma
First of all, on the occasion of this important anniversary of the United Nations,
naravno sve organizacije Ujedinjenih nacija imaju, jako predstavnik Instituta za javno zdravlje
as a representative of Serbia's Institute of Public Health, believe it is highly important to ensure that all UN agencies are involved in improving local capacities and knowledge globally in all countries, and I believe that the role of the United Nations is to improve the quality of life of people at the global level. This is a very important role, and it includes improving the quality of healthcare. Even today, when we have a pandemic that has affected the entire world. When it comes to the role of healthcare institutions and healthcare availability in the territory of our country, we have monitored the process since we identified the first case of COVID infection. Healthcare in major cities where many people live and where communications and contacts among people are frequent, healthcare was available to all the users, but COVID has also been more prevalent in major cities and larger municipalities. When it comes to rural communities, infection was spreading more slowly in rural areas and smaller communities because disease prevention measures were more easily enforced in territories with scarcer populations. It required less sacrifice by the population. Very often, these measures contributed to containing the epidemiological situation. It is an example of how we need to act in communities with larger populations in order to contain the spreading of the disease. When it comes to healthcare, in the territory of Serbia, we have more than 350 healthcare institutions in the public network. We have 160 primary healthcare centers, which are very well organized in terms of accessibility in small municipalities. There are even satellite outpatient units in rural areas. What do we need to do in the future? In those small communities, we need to sustain this arrangement, and we need to preserve the human resources there. This is an example of the so-called Semaško model and the model of healthcare organization from Eastern European countries. It shows that if we are close to the healthcare users, then the quality of healthcare will be better. When it comes to COVID-19, reorganization of healthcare services was necessary throughout the world. We reorganized our hospitals capacities as well as primary healthcare centers. It is very important to remain available at the local level in line with the needs of the population. Thank you. Vladimir, in our society, there has been a long-standing tendency of migration from villages. Now, in times of COVID, I have noticed an unusual trend. Villages are becoming an attractive option, not only as a place where you go to spend some time away from the city, but also as a place where you go to start a business that will last longer than the pandemic, hopefully. Young people are increasingly choosing to start that kind of businesses, and being young, they are more likely to use the new technologies that the Biosense Institute is promoting and implementing in agriculture. In the film, When Tomatoes Met Wagner, the film metaphorically shows an attempt to stimulate tomato growth by playing music to the crops, either Greek folk music or the works of this famous composer. But this can be a metaphor for the need for innovation, the need to build a link between science and tradition. Does this also create a new field of interest for young people?
Ovo što se izdešavalo je samo još jedna stvar koja ubrzava taj proces.
These developments are just another factor that accelerates this process. In my opinion, digitization and IT implementation across the system, where you have the possibility to build the necessary infrastructure in every village, truly indicates a trend in recent years. Namely, agriculture is increasingly becoming an attractive choice. It is no longer traditional and uninteresting. But what COVID-19 has brought, if we look at the evolution of the human species and the economic systems in the past 100 years, in the evolutionary process, this is just one more mutation that will nudge us towards a change in our way of thinking. We no longer have to live in crowded cities. We can do a lot of jobs from a distance, and we have an opportunity to live healthier and higher quality lives in rural communities where the quality of life is much better. You have large companies such as Uber, Microsoft, and others that have already decided that for the next year their staff will not be coming to offices. And this will demonstrate that it is possible, and it will shift the economy in that direction. But it creates a whole new perspective for rural communities. I would be very happy to spend the next 2 weeks in the mountains, working from there and doing some other things. This region is known for brain drain. There are programs in Serbia at the local community level that are aimed at encouraging young people to stay in their communities and to start their own lives in those communities. If agriculture no longer involves only manual work but begins to integrate high technology, we keep talking that IT will retain young people here. So in this new normal, can agriculture be the industry that will stop the brain drain? I deeply believe that it can. Time will show whether we are right. You said it very well. This hype about IT is well-founded. A significant portion of Serbia's GDP comes from the IT sector, but if we look at the structure, programmers are the miners of the 21st and 22nd centuries. There are very few domestic products that are sustainable in the long run. Mainly, they work as subcontractors for foreign companies. On the other hand, agriculture is traditionally very widely present in Serbia, and we see the link between these two as the opportunity to develop our own innovations and products, and also an opportunity to retain younger people here and to prevent brain drain. If the state develops a clear strategy to retain young people by offering them interesting, attractive jobs, I think that quality of life could be much higher here than in the West. Within 5 years, our institute grew from 12 employees to 120, so we grew tenfold. And these are mainly people who would have ended up in a foreign country if we hadn't offered them an opportunity to stay here. Ms. Pavlovic, we see in the film that when young people appear in a scene, they appear as visitors, as tourists who come to see how this remote village functions. This community of 5 middle-aged women and 2 middle-aged men who are trying to start their business and grow their production. What does it look like in Serbia? Can you tell us about Radanska Ruža? How many young people see you as some kind of a miracle? How many of them want to join you? I'm especially interested to hear about your workforce, which consists mainly of women. This is always a concern in Serbia. Before I answer your question specifically, I would like to follow up on what the gentleman said concerning brain drain and how to launch your own production and how to start and grow your business. This is very interesting for young people. When we started, we didn't call it a business. We called it struggle for survival. We keep talking about the pandemic and the disaster, but we had that 10 years ago when we had a very high number of the unemployed in our community. You need to find answers to a lot of questions. Who will support you? Who will provide you with finance, who will provide the knowledge, etc. We had a very good idea 5 years ago, and this idea has matured. But if it hadn't been for UNOPS and the EU and the Swiss government, we probably wouldn't have been able to realize our idea. We didn't know where to go to get assistance, and we knew that our idea was mature because before that we had tried in different ways to create jobs for women, jobs that would be sustainable in the long run. There were women who had lost their jobs after 20 or 30 years of working. We also had women who had never worked. So we had a major problem in the south of Serbia after the former socialist companies were closed. They were mainly working in apparel industry, so when they lost their jobs, their families were left without any source of livelihood. Fortunately, most of us were from villages, from rural communities, and a lot of us had some land. So we tried to use the local potentials and to use the capacities of those women who had some prior knowledge. They didn't need any additional training or retraining, so we didn't need to spend money on training and education, but we still needed the money to start the business. We needed to procure equipment and to design the products, and fortunately we found partners, the EU, UNOPS and the Swiss government. They supported us not only financially but also in every other way. We received assistance of every kind, mentoring, advice. We embarked on an adventure. I keep saying that manufacturing industry is a living organism. It is born, it grows, it reaches adolescence, and it has a long way to go until it reaches maturity. Our business is now in the adolescence phase. We are facing major turbulences. We hope one day it reaches maturity if we have an opportunity to use our knowledge and experience. And I cannot say that a social enterprise is sustainable. Our productivity in our business has declined because of the marginalized groups that we employ. If we do not have any external assistance, we make losses. Our product is excellent and it is well positioned in the market, but we still haven't managed to reach the break-even point. We have received support from donors for 2 years, especially since 2017 when we embarked on this adventure called organic production. We proved that it was possible to go organic in Serbia. Serbia has potentials for very high-quality organic products. We also have the capacity to be exporters, but we need some incentives, we need some security, we need healthy soil. A question for Dr. Jovanović. A survey was carried out recently on behalf of the United Nations. People across the world answered questions about their priorities for the future. Citizens of Serbia responded that this may come as a surprise, but Serbian citizens recognized climate change and the need to protect the environment as the biggest tasks for the humankind. You have probably had opportunities to hear your colleagues from the medical sector who talked about direct links between the environmental situation on the planet and the diseases that we are facing. When the corona crisis started, a short film was produced in Italy with the message, the planet needed to stop in order to give the humankind an opportunity to reflect on the level of destruction that we have caused to the environment. As a doctor, what is your view of this link between pandemics and the environment and the quality of the environment that we live in, especially air and water? When it comes to the occurrence of various diseases and threats to health, regardless of the surveys and analyses carried out by different systems, it is certain that individual and population health is affected by multiple factors at the same time, and many of these factors do not directly affect health, but in the long run, those environmental factors certainly lead to health deterioration or health improvement. In this specific situation, we have a phenomenon that has spread across the planet. This is a pandemic of an infectious disease called COVID-19. If we look back, we can see that a similar phenomenon was registered exactly 1 century ago, from 1918 to 1920. At that time, we were able to analyze and monitor the situation. We were able to monitor the situation that affected the entire planet in the second decade of the 20th century. If we talk about the impact of different environmental factors on individual and population health, we can certainly say that the environment that we live in is a factor. Different technologies have led to innovations and new factors that affect human health in the past couple of decades. And as years and decades went by, those environmental factors have changed and they have contributed to deterioration of human health. We have had different surveys and researches on measuring the impact of different factors of human health. For example, mortality caused by cardiovascular diseases and malignant diseases, changes in quality of life, respiratory diseases were directly or indirectly linked to those environmental factors. Climate change is inevitable. There is also technological progress in different areas. Technological developments in the modern world, besides their numerous positive effects, will certainly have negative effects as well. It is important for the public health system to be aware of these effects, because monitoring changes in individual and population health is very important for planning and undertaking measures in healthcare. When it comes to the most vulnerable population groups, or the most vulnerable part of the global population, we will always focus on the vulnerable groups that were mentioned today. These vulnerable groups will include the unemployed. They are affected by non-health factors that affect their quality of life in the long term. We also need to be aware of the situation of children and elderly population as well. So environmental factors need to be controlled. All sectors that are concerned with public health should be included in dialogue and needs analysis when it comes to controlling those environmental factors. Of course, impact assessments of different environmental factors should be cross-sectoral. For instance, in some other areas, the link between an environmental factor and its effect is not always linear or direct. So the analysis in the healthcare system needs to include monitoring mortality and morbidity, and it needs to be substantiated adequately, because we can never identify a direct link. At the global level, measures need to be taken to monitor the developments in technology and industry in order to make sure that the harmful effects are as low as possible. Every day, when you publish figures on newly identified cases of COVID and the number of the people deceased, it creates an effect. We wear masks, we maintain a distance, we have changed our way of life in order to adapt to the new normal. If there is a positive message that we can draw from this situation,
od raznih oblika raka pluća, izazvanih između ostalog i zagađenim vazduhom.
When we publish the number of people affected by different diseases caused by air pollution, do you think it is time for advocacy in order to encourage people to pay attention to some other figures which are also not favorable, and that we can change if we address environmental protection more seriously? This is a very good question when it comes to the importance of all the activities
svakog pojedinca na teritoriji zemljine kugle, pa naravno i na
in the life of every individual on Earth and in Serbia. There are different sectors that monitor factors that affect health, and each sector can monitor those factors. So every industry that contributes to the economic progress of a country has the duty to take care of the safety of the industrial procedures and technologies that they apply in order to make a profit. And every successful company has this duty. Also, when it comes to healthcare, healthcare entails public health, and public health involves different sectors and considers the effects of different factors which affect human health. So, according to the constitution of our country, the right to health is a fundamental human right. So, of course, it is of primary importance to look at all those factors that affect health from a multidisciplinary perspective. The public health sector will certainly monitor all those effects, monitor their changes that can lead to some undesirable phenomena, such as the pandemic that we are having right now. So, multidisciplinary approach, a single approach to the human and animal world, contributes to assessing all those impacts which lead to health deterioration and to crises such as this one. During this epidemic, we have seen that the importance of early detection, early identification of infected persons is the key point in controlling the epidemic. So not only the medical examination, which is very important, but also the detection and identification of an infected person who poses a risk to his or her community. This is the approach that takes into account the individual and the population. This is why it's very important to invest in public health principles, in multi-sectoral approach, which can contribute to preserving the environment and health. Vladimir, new technologies and green economy. There is a direct link. you can not only help people in agriculture. I know this because I was thrilled to hear some of your presentations. You can inform them about weather events such as rain or hail. You can scan their land lots from the air. You can analyze their soil so that they know whether they need to apply more or less fertilizer. You can also give them advice on how to not overuse chemicals in order to protect their crops. In the film, at one point, they ask the characters, what is it that characterizes your products? What is your tomato like? Well, it is healthy. This is very important. It is an organic product treated with chemicals to the minimum possible extent. This is where new technologies can make a major contribution. Yes, globally, this awareness of the need to preserve the environment and to develop an economy which will truly be green, electrical vehicles and many other things, this awareness is growing. However, there are conflicting interests, political interests, and these interests are decelerating this. In the first weeks of the pandemic, I was fascinated how quickly borders were deleted. The nature chose a tiny being to show us how unimportant we are. People tried to help one another to sustain our way of life. However, 2 months later, politics got into it. Who would be the first one to develop a vaccine? Who would ban whom from entering their country? It is important for us to understand that this planet that we live on is one. It is shared by all of us. If somebody uses too many chemicals in developing any product, it will affect everybody one way or another. So global awareness is very important. When we say globalization, I do not see it negatively. I do not see it as a situation where mega corporations rule the world. Globalization is about taking care of yourself and also taking care of others. The goal for the 22nd century should be to erase borders that close people in. The European Union is probably the greatest political achievement in the past 100 years, and it simply disappeared in the face of a tiny being such as a virus, if we can call it a being at all. Barriers were erected. You can travel, you cannot travel. We need to be united in order to preserve this space that we live in by raising people's awareness that what they do affects not only themselves and their families, but also their neighbors and everybody else on the planet. You are in Novi Sad, in the heart of Vojvodina. The driver of agricultural development in the country. How are people from rural communities adjusting? How willing are they to get in touch with you? And how much are they willing to trust you when you say that the right combination of tradition and science can give excellent results? This is not an easy or fast process, but it is easier than you would think. We have the digital agricultural platform, AgroSense, where we offer free of charge state-of-the-art services and knowledge to users. At the moment, we have 15,000 people using the platform. 1/4 of total arable land in Serbia is registered in this system without any subsidies offered or without any obligations attached to it. When something is presented to them in an intuitive and simple way, people are willing to accept it. When you look at how many people have profiles on Facebook or Instagram, even people from my generation, and generation of my parents, they use these services, so I don't see why they couldn't use those services for agriculture. And it is a process that is happening. But what we need is joint action and information sharing in order for people to understand the benefits of technology, in order to make their businesses and their lives and their communities sustainable in the long run. Slobodanka, you talked about your company being in the adolescence phase. I would like you to tell us about this final step. In the film, we could see how much attention is given to these tomatoes. They play music to the crops, and hard-working women's hands turn these tomatoes into traditional, recognizable products: tomato juice, stuffed tomatoes, different Greek specialties. And then we have the market and says you need high standards, buyers, consumers want to know who picked these tomatoes, who processed them, who boiled them, who are those people who offer this to us, what are the ingredients in this jar of tomatoes. So, on the way to a successful business, how big is this step, what is missing, and what kind of assistance would you need? When I was watching the film, I kept thinking how the same thing happened to us as well. At one point, we received feedback saying, you need to show that this is a local product, the label should look like this, the label should look like that. I admit that at that time we didn't know very much about it. We wanted to make a high-quality product, Ajvar, first of all, which is our main product, but we also wanted to make sure we had high-quality products. We believed in what we were doing, we believed in our inputs, the raw materials that we were using, and we needed to find a way to reach the market. We didn't think about putting our photos or signatures on the label. We thought it was enough to taste the product and it would find its way to the market. However, I noticed that buyers were increasingly interested in the origin of the product. And this brings me back to the topic of the local level. There is a growing awareness that local products should be local. We in Leskovac should grow peppers and the people in Vojvodina should grow wheat. In the simplest terms, the end consumer is increasingly interested in where the product comes from. Of course, the product needs to be of high quality and it needs to be healthy. When we started organic production, with the assistance from UNOPS and the EU and the EU Pro program, we weren't even aware what we were embarking on. There was so much bureaucracy, it was so complex, and we barely managed to get through the first year because we didn't know what we were supposed to be doing. Are we supposed to produce organic vegetables or fill in paperwork? But there is a reason for all this. There is a very strict control system. This is why there is so much bureaucracy. But finally, after 3 years, I have come to understand that this is normal. It is great that we have managed to access markets beyond Serbia. Our partner in this business is in Austria, and all the organic products that we produce go to Austria. We still do not have our organic products in the Serbian market. This is the issue of expensive production and low purchasing power, and there is a need for external assistance. We launched our organic production, and I know exactly where the weak links are. If we want to attract young people to stay in their communities, to stay in villages, and to start agricultural businesses, there needs to be a strategy. I'm not saying there isn't a good strategy, but the implementation of that strategy is a problem. We will not attract younger people or older people to stay in villages unless they are able to survive, to make a living. We are happy because we make healthy food, but people need to get paid for their work. They need to send their children to school. I don't know if you're following me. I don't know if you can understand how complex this is. In my modest opinion, the United Nations sit on the right-hand side of God, and all these things that we're talking about are related. It's important to prevent problems because prevention is better than cure, and we need to meet our essential needs. We can prevent many diseases. We can go back to healthy food. Let me give an example. A farmer needs to produce food because that's how he makes a living. If he cannot make a living, he will resort to any means to increase his yield in order to make more money. If there is something available in the market that will increase the yield, he will buy it and use it. But the question is, why are those products, those chemicals available in the market? Why are people able to poison their food by simply going to the market and purchasing a product? There must be a solution at the global level. When I say that the UN sits on the right-hand side of God, I really mean it. In every area, peace, environment, health of people on this planet. So this is the question for the United Nations, how to prevent all the problems that we have today. You have given us an excellent cue for the conclusion of this discussion. Dr. Jovanovic, when Serbian citizens answered questions in a survey carried out by the United Nations, they said that in today's world there is little solidarity within and among countries. Vladimir has also raised this issue. So, to conclude this discussion in which we actually talked about survival and future, what can you say about solidarity from your aspect by looking at these past 7 months of fighting COVID? I'm talking about solidarity both within and among countries.
Tu možda mogla da napravim komparaciju, odnosno da navedem ne samo
I will try to draw a comparison
međudržavnu solidarnost, već i
when it comes to solidarity within countries, among countries, and interpersonal solidarity, which is not related to institutions within the system. If a phenomenon scares us and changes our life and behavior, and if it also affects the quality of life by continuously instilling fear in us, we need to be aware that interpersonal relations in society will involve different scenarios that include changes in our behavior. At some point, out of fear and uncertainty, there will probably be some oscillations in solidarity. When it comes to the system, not only the healthcare system, but the state system, in our country, from the moment the first case of COVID was registered, we have witnessed solidarity which was present among the sectors. From the first moment, it was not important whether somebody was a member of the health sector or some other sector, if they could contribute to protecting everyone against the spread of COVID-19. In the healthcare system, we have also witnessed different reorganizations in the healthcare system. People working in hospitals and healthcare centers went to the first line and worked with the patients affected by this infection. The risk is still present in our environment, not only in Serbia, but also across the world. So, joint activities are undertaken by everybody in the entire world in order to fight the spread of the virus in different territories. Of course, solidarity is a prerequisite for stopping this pandemic. And if we look from the aspect of the healthcare system, in addition to healthcare system and healthcare workers, it is very important to have solidarity at the level of the entire community and society. And it is very important for other sectors to contribute. In some situations, it is not the healthcare sector that can convey the right information in terms of the need to wear masks and disinfect premises and keep distance. Until we have a vaccine, it is very important to spread the message about the importance of these prevention measures. This is why intersectoral solidarity is so important. Thank you. Vladimir?
U istom ovome, dakle, da se nadovežem, ono što sam malo rekao, planeta
As I said previously, we have one planet, and we need to understand that people need to work together. The United Nations are a good leitmotiv and an organization that can inspire all this, but even without global organizations, we need to understand that we live here together as part of a system. We are very vulnerable. It turned out that all the projections that we had about developments in the next 10 or 20 years can be distorted by a development like this. And we need to respect each other and take everybody's interests into account, and this is the only way. With this, we conclude today's discussion. Thank you for your participation. And on behalf of all of us, I would like to congratulate the United Nations on this very important anniversary, 75 years of the foundation of the United Nations. Congratulations.